Hello there, students. We are going to be talking today about federalism, and I'm going to try and make this rather complex topic fairly simple for you with just this one graphic that we'll talk about and try and make it brief. So the idea of federalism is that there's actually two types of government, and you knew this from the Articles of Confederation in the last unit, that there are state governments that existed, and under the Articles of Confederation they were more powerful than the national government that also existed. So under the Constitution, we developed this idea called federalism, which means that the national and state governments sort of work more together. The national government is the supreme government, but they have certain jobs, and then the state government is sort of not less important, but it's not supreme, but they have certain jobs too. So in the federal system, the jobs of government are divided amongst the various levels. And if we had a third box here, we could also include town government. Like the town of Ellington has a government and does certain jobs as well. It doesn't have it here because every town's a little different. So we'll just focus on national and state for right now. So you see that some of the jobs that the national government has: declaring war, making an army, regulating trade between the states and between other countries, which was a big problem under the Articles of Confederation that was fixed, admitting new states, establishing and running the post office, establishing like the weights and measure system for our country. So like not different states are doing pounds in the metric system, like the national government sets that for the whole country, making money for the country, foreign policy, how our country is dealing with other countries, and then making all laws necessary and proper for carrying out these things. The state governments, they are in charge of schools. They're in charge of creating town governments, local governments. Within the state, they regulate business. So if it is a business transaction between Vernon and Tolland, well, the state government would be in charge of that. If it were a transaction between a business in Tolland, Connecticut and Albany, New York, well, then that would be a national job. So interstate versus within a state. States make their own marriage laws and divorce laws. That is why same-sex marriage is allowed in some states but not others, because that's how the government works. Providing for public safety, things like fire departments, police departments, any safety laws, speeding, texting while driving, every state sets those laws separately. And anything that's not listed in the Constitution automatically becomes a state government job. Finally, there are some laws that overlap that the state and national government can do. Maintaining law and order. So that's pretty obvious that both governments would have a job. Like the national government has the FBI and the CIA to maintain law and order on more of a countrywide level, and the state governments have like state police departments to maintain law and order on more of a state local level. Both of them can tax, unfortunately, so when you become a tax-paying adult, you'll pay taxes to the national government, you'll also pay taxes to the state government, and unfortunately you'll also pay taxes to your town government. So you pay taxes to 3 different governments. Fun is. Both of these governments can borrow money if necessary, although the national government does a lot more borrowing than the states. The national government's in debt, and the state government usually runs on a balanced budget, although not always. Both of them can make banks, so there's state banks, there's national banks, there's also local banks. Both of them can establish courts. We have national court system, so if you do something that breaks one of these kinds of laws, you would be tried in federal court. If you do something that breaks one of these kind of laws, you would be tried in state court. So they both have their different court systems. And providing for the general welfare, making laws that would be for the good of the people, and they can both do that. So this is kind of federalism explained real quick. You notice that the national government and state government, they do different things. So for example, if you wanted to talk about fixing schools, you wouldn't direct your attention to the national government because they're not in charge of fixing schools. You direct your attention to the state government. If you wanted to talk about fixing the post office, you wouldn't talk to the state government because they don't do that. You talk to the national government, things like that. So this is going to be helpful for your last step of your project because you're going to have to figure out which person in government should you contact to try and get your law passed. And depending on what topic you're working on, you might contact a national government person or you might contact a state government person, depending on what applies best. So that's federalism in a nutshell. Good luck on Objective 4.